Welcome to OnePlan's webinar on the future of Microsoft project management tools, connecting teams, work, and delivery across Microsoft 365. Presenting is OnePlan's Jim Patterson. If you enjoy this topic, please explore our YouTube channel for more recorded webinars and follow us on LinkedIn to stay in the know with upcoming events.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. This topic today that we're covering is really about the evolution at Microsoft and the way that they are addressing the needs of project and work management across the board, and really about how OnePlan plays a big role in that future and how we've been integral through that throughout the life cycle. So with that, let's talk about some of these topics. Now, previously, Microsoft had already been through some evolution with Microsoft Project and how they handled overall work and task management. So previously, for decades now, we've had Microsoft Project on the desktop, Microsoft Project Professional being the most robust and connectable version of the desktop version with its robust scheduling capabilities. And it met the needs of many project managers, even at a very detailed and customized level. Now, outside of using it individually on your desktops, people wanted to have portfolio management and be able to collaborate on plans. And that's when Project Server and Project Online came into the mix. And Project Online, with the advent of the cloud, was really the de facto way that people did this. And it basically brought a myriad of plans that were done in Microsoft Project Professional, saved them to a database rather than to files, and gave them portfolio management and a repository for all that information. Now, people that had simpler needs sometimes felt that Microsoft Project was daunting, that it was too robust, and that it was a little bit intimidating for them to use and had maybe more capabilities than they needed. And Microsoft included with your Microsoft or Office 365 subscription Planner, which gave a very Kanban card style like task management tool that you were able to use to kind of do simple task management and lightweight projects. The difference being that there wasn't really any scheduling in there, no dependency management, no real resource allocation and quantification and that type of thing. And so there was a gap. And what they did with that gap is they filled it with, at that time, Microsoft Project for the Web, which was meant to be something more geared towards the masses and the casual or accidental project manager. And those people would then have scheduling capabilities with dependencies and the things you'd expect from a basic scheduling, but it would only be the basics. Didn't have everything that Microsoft Project Desktop in it, but it was designed to be accessible and easy to get started with those people that maybe weren't dedicated, classically trained project managers. Okay. Now from there is where we're going to start the story today and where Microsoft is today and where it's headed. So introducing Microsoft Planner with Copilot and Teams, and it's really about what's new in project and work management in the Microsoft offerings. Now, Microsoft is really moving more towards collaborative work management, and this is meant to meet the needs of more than just the classically trained or dedicated project manager. It's meant to address the needs of business users, team members, and the more informal project managers, as we've discussed. Individual task management, some team projects, maybe some visual boards and goals, team workloads, dependencies, dashboards, and some advent of AI in there. And the mission here is to get teams to be able to work the way they want in a flexible way, but have the enterprises get what they need. But the disconnected apps and tools make it hard to get it all done. So can we do this all within a common set of tools and a common framework? Now, that collaborative work management for many needs to be extended, especially those Project Online users that did more robust and more mature portfolio management along with their project management. And that they're calling that today enterprise work management. And that's designed for the professional project manager or the program their project management offices, and maybe the executive teams for the visibility. And that adds portfolio management capabilities, potentially some more agile types of approaches, really doing resource management and quantification of that. Maybe some goals and objectives and key results, reporting, cost management, advanced scheduling, things that casual or informal project manager really isn't interested in doing. But Microsoft right now is really trying to address and go broadly through that collaborative work management aspect primarily. And it's because they've surveyed their users. And they did a survey and found that 59% of employees said that their collaboration tools are not aligned with how they prefer to work. 64% said current collaboration tools don't integrate with their organization's processes. And 72% wish their collaboration tools were compatible with one another. On the enterprise work management side, 48% of employees find it harder to collaborate cross-functionally with colleagues in other teams. 59% find it harder to keep on top of a growing workload that comes at them from a variety of directions. And 62% find it harder to understand the status of the projects that they're working on or that they're participating in. Once again, this came from surveys of their user base out there. Overall, AI, as we all know, everything we hear about AI almost every day, 85% in the survey want more automation capabilities integrated with their collaboration tools to, make the routine, more mundane, busy work quicker to get past and get onto more high-value activities. So hence the new Microsoft Planner. Now, in the past, as I mentioned that evolution, we had Microsoft Project for the web, we had Microsoft Planner, and we could actually had Microsoft To Do with Microsoft Planner and To Do in Teams or in To Do itself that would basically bring those things together into one common venue. Now it's all come together into the new Microsoft Planner, into one tool, one brand to make things simple, make things flexible, potentially to be scalable, and with the advent of the AI, be more intelligent in the way that you work with these things. So the new planner is designed to be simple, browser-based, to be used in your browser or within Teams, with easy navigation and simple project scheduling capabilities. Not all the robust advanced things, but the things that most people are going to use. It's also flexible in the fact that it has the ability to build plans, and there's templates that are available to you. And so people can collaborate on these plans in Teams or on the browser. And as they work on those things, they can flexibly design and structure their plans in the way they would like to have that collaborative work management experience. It's also scalable, that allows you to have some light portfolio visualization and dashboards to basically look at how things are going and assess where we're at. Not to the degree that you were used to, say, in Project Online in the past. But the idea is that it does give you some portfolio visibility. And like the rest of the Microsoft 365 suite, Copilot is available in most cases, in many cases, where you can leverage its capabilities to assist you in the project management and collaborative work management process. Now, Copilot in Planner basically is really like any of the other Office suite, and it gives you on the right-hand pane access to Copilot so that you can leverage not only what it knows from its general large language model out there in the Azure OpenAI, it also works alongside you and leverages the data that you're working with in your tools themselves to give you that assistance in the context in which you're working. And that's something that's available today. In Microsoft Project or Planner, I should say, it is available as a premium feature. Now, Copilot and Planner, what can it do today? Well, it can help you create and update plans. It can actually do Q&A, so as you assess the health and things of a project. It can help you with more advanced planning. It can help you with plan management. It can help you with plan execution and automation. But be assured, as opposed to ChatGPT, which is out in the open internet, Microsoft's Copilot is got security and compliance within the Microsoft cloud. It's delivered to you from Microsoft's Azure OpenAI, meaning that there's better protections of your data and the access to all of that. Now, some planning scenarios, you might, in addition to do those, you might set some goals to align with your project, to just have certain goals that you want to have so that the outcomes and the value that you're getting from the projects and initiatives that you're putting into place will allow you to do those types of things. Now, it's fairly simple to get into just building tasks in a plan and collaborating with them in teams and in a more collaborative environment. But getting to enterprise work management and beyond that is really where the challenge is for a lot of the organizations that are looking at where to go with Project Online. Microsoft has stated that Project Online is not being invested. It hasn't been invested in for quite some time. And at some point, it's going to have an end of service in the future. And there's maybe reasons coming up that decrementing of other technologies may further incentivize people to get into the newer technologies. But as we look into this, Planner is now providing the ability to have some lightweight portfolio visibility, where you're at, to have simple portfolio views, to look at an aggregation of projects and provide basics in the way you look at a portfolio of projects. And it's doing this because the new Planner is built upon the Microsoft Power Platform that leverages things like the Dataverse on the back end for a database repository, Power Automate for process automation, Power Apps for extending these things with applications we'll talk about in a little bit, Power BI for reporting and dashboards and analytics, and Project for the Web, now transformed into Planner. And there's two tiers that we'll talk about. Planner Premium provides you with the capabilities that you've had in Project for the Web in the past, but the rebranding is, when I talk about Planner, and I talk about Planner with premium plans, that is the new branding for Microsoft's, what was formerly Microsoft Project for the Web. Now, for collaborative work management, Planner by itself in collaboration with teams for content and collaboration is really sufficient for general, what's called collaborative work management. And it's meant to reach really the masses that are working within Microsoft 365 today. It's generally accessible, easy to use, easy to get started, and easy to collaborate. When you start getting into the realms of enterprise work management, and we'll talk about different tiers of that as far as different levels of maturity and sophistication of requirement. But there you need Planner plus Power Apps. And we'll talk about an accelerator that's there that provides, basic portfolio management capabilities beyond what I just showed you in Planner itself, to basically get you part of the way to where Project Online had you up till now. And a lot of that's available to you because all of the data is stored in Microsoft Dataverse. And once again, Copilot's available in either of these scenarios. So think about your Planner plans that you built and your schedules that you're building. And instead of them all being saved in individual Microsoft project files like they were in the old days, they're actually being stored in Dataverse by default, your backend repository. Now, where the Power Apps comes in is that because we have that data in Dataverse, this level of data is really pretty much scheduling data, task level data, the execution level data. If you want to start having some more portfolio level data, maybe aggregated into programs, you need another layer or another level above that to capture that data. And the Power App capabilities can allow us to have that capability layered onto that so that we can get basic portfolio management. Now, to that, even though Power Apps is a low code, no code environment where developers are not required to write code, we find that most customers, don't have the desire to build things up from scratch, or even if they're low code and no code. Hence, a accelerator, a pre-built application was built in Power Apps. And I'm pleased to say that OnePlan was enlisted by Microsoft to develop this, but provides that Power Apps layer or wrapper around project plans in Planner, such that you can get that portfolio management activity. And it gives you the ability to do project requests, aggregate plans into programs, see a list of projects, hence a portfolio, and be able to look at the resources that you have and some basic reporting that includes portfolio level reporting that you wouldn't have without an accelerator level that's in there. Now, I will caution you that while this gets us close, it does not provide full feature parity with Project Online. That is not here, nor likely in the cards given the current direction of where Microsoft is going. So what we're here to talk about again today is the fact that the Power Platform provides all these things, which include Planner, right? But OnePlan is here to extend those capabilities into all the things that you were used to having in Microsoft Project Online and more and beyond that. So that full PPM or strategic portfolio management, SPM, can be achieved for organizations that need to have that capability. Now, OnePlan provides that path to strategic portfolio management. And when I say a path, meaning it's there, but you don't have to bite off everything in the capabilities that are there in one chew. For example, business leaders have strategy needs and have to put together strategic plans and objectives and key results, OKRs. The idea is that that can be captured and they can manage their execution of that strategic plan. Execution leaders who have initiatives and projects involved, whether they be more product oriented, more agile oriented, more waterfall or adaptive oriented, or even professional services automation needs. Execution leaders have to then deliver on initiatives and projects and work that are supporting the achievement of the strategies that the business leaders laid out. And then the functional leaders, they own the technologies and the assets and the enterprise and business architecture elements like applications and products and business capabilities that may be critical to the success of your initiatives, hence success of your objectives and your key results and your strategies. So OnePlan goes beyond the things that you can do with the accelerator, even in Power Apps with Planner, and really take you full function. And we can talk about leveraging those things and extending them. So for example, on the demand side, building those strategies and those OKRs is in OnePlan. Having a portal for ideation and requests that allow people to assess them, report on them, vote on them, prioritize them, etc., and select them so that they become projects. The ability to capture portfolios of assets, whether they be products, applications, business capabilities, etc., and factor all this in on the intake side so that when we select the projects that we want to work on in our portfolio, we can select a full portfolio of active things that we want to work on, and also factor in the quantification of our capacity versus demand and making sure that we're not overcommitting and setting ourselves up for failure, as well as detailed financial planning and tracking that's available. Now, because we're in a fast-moving society, what if scenario modeling is something that you won't find without additional capabilities in the Microsoft offerings, and we can actually provide that with OnePlan. Now, on the execution side, this is where the synergies happen. OnePlan has a home for plans for both waterfall type plans or hybrid plans or agile plans with backlogs and sprints, etc. And you could build those plans in here and you could templatize those things, but it also has built-in connectors for not only the Microsoft tools, Planner, Project on the Desktop, Azure DevOps, but a variety of the most popular non-Microsoft tools in there as well. So if you have constituencies that are married to those things and you're having trouble pulling it out of their hands and saying to move on to another tool, you can get portfolio management by incorporating the data that they're already working with and having it roll up into the portfolio. And that includes full resource management at the project level. Now, from a collaborative perspective, team members need to be able to see what's been assigned to them in my work and be able to provide status updates, comments, and etc. Or if you're an organization that needs to do time reporting, built-in timesheets to do capitalization of labor, chargebacks internally, or even billing to external clients. Those things are all built in here and are all things that aren't provided by the native Microsoft offerings that are available today. And obviously the analysis, the reporting at the individual project level, built-in project level status reports that are generated automatically, dashboards at whatever level it might be, portfolio level, program level, project level, etc. And the visualizations of how all these things are interrelated. We might talk about strategies and how they align and that type of thing. Those things are available to us right within OnePlan. And we can do that by extending the capabilities that Microsoft is offering. Now, with AI, we talked about Copilot in Microsoft. Well, we have a purpose-built AI assistant called Sofia GPT in OnePlan that is purpose-built for portfolio management and strategic portfolio management, but is also delivered off of the same Azure OpenAI large language model. And we've trained it on the things specific to portfolio management, strategic portfolio management, and the OnePlan capabilities alone to get you even further and more advanced capabilities and assistance. Ultimately, we want to pick the right work to work on that aligns with our strategies, and we want to execute well and successfully deliver at the end of the day. Now, because we have these capabilities and the flexibility of using different tool sets, different methodologies, or even have different ways and templates of the way people might work in the different functional areas of your business, we can now model very effectively enterprise-wide and cross-functional efforts that are delivering value to the organization and contributing to the overall strategy of the business. This allows us to do those things seamlessly and gives us the ability to have this be more of an enterprise-wide solution across the board. And this is becoming even more important as we have digital transformation efforts that hit all parts of the business, or we have business transformation efforts that hit across the business. And those things are happening on a broad scale in the marketplace today. Now, the integrations I talked about, just be forewarned that we're not talking about writing custom code for each things to APIs. We're talking about productized connectors that are delivered as a service as part of OnePlan, whether it be, the work management tools, which include Planner and Project on the desktop, the Agile tools, which include Azure DevOps, and Dynamics, whether it be your CRM system, whether it be your F&O system, et cetera. We have the ability to connect to all those things and bring those into the portfolio management mix and deliver the capabilities that OnePlan adds, regardless of which or if all of these solutions or technologies you're using from Microsoft. The other component, rather than just integrating the data, is a fused UI experience with Microsoft, such that if you are using Power Apps, we can actually deliver OnePlan through the Power Apps. We actually have a built-in connection with Power Apps. We also are an authorized Microsoft Teams application, so you can deliver OnePlan capabilities in conjunction with the rest of the Microsoft tools right within Teams. The same thing holds true for Azure DevOps. We can see it right within Azure DevOps. We can work with it in Dynamics. We can actually work with it in SharePoint. And even non-Microsoft things like Jira have the ability to do a fused UI, so you can actually use the OnePlan capabilities right while you're in the environments or the tools that you're already working in. Now, Sofia GPT, I mentioned it's our AI assistant, and it is based on Azure OpenAI. It's purpose-built for strategic portfolio management, and it is something that you should play with. We'll talk about the availability of free trials. And with that free trial, you can actually see the benefits and the power of Sofia GPT at any given point in time. Now, Sofia GPT is always on in OnePlan if you choose to enable it within the system. And it's not an add-on thing you have to buy. It's not a premium feature. It's actually part of the core solution, and you just choose whether or not your organization wants to enable it or not. But at any given point in time, this blue circle in the lower right will be available to you, and then you can ask it a variety of prompts and things like that to get the analysis, the assistance, the creation of items as you see fit. And some of the ways that AI is being used in portfolio management with Sofia is in the strategic planning and helping with that, portfolio optimization, the overall work management, creating of work plans from scratch, risk assessment and risk management, resource allocation and optimization of that, and even the financial side of investment forecasting and optimization and analysis as well. These are just some of the things we're doing today, and we're working on more and more of those things each and every day. So the future of Microsoft project and portfolio management, we think about all these things delivered from the Microsoft Cloud, because there's so many of you out there that are in the Microsoft 365 environment. If we think about collaborative work management, which is the lighter weight aspect of this, where people just want to collaborate on tasks in a very less formal way, you can do that with Planner and Teams, and you can optionally use Planner Premium, which is formerly Project for the Web. So you can have the basic Planner or the Project for the Web capabilities as an uptick in the Microsoft licensing, and all done through Microsoft Office 365 or Microsoft 365. Now for PMOs, say for example, enterprise work management can come in different levels of rigor and sophistication. And I grayed out Project Online here because Project Online is kind of on its way out. They're not investing in it. It's getting long in the tooth, and that's not the direction where Microsoft is going. Now, many of you have it already, but you might want to think about what's going to be next, because it's not going to be here forever. But I will tell you this, using Planner Premium with the accelerator that we talked about would give you some basic enterprise work management and portfolio management. But you can also leverage OnePlan in this realm as well to add all those additional capabilities we talked about and provide that in an enterprise work management scenario. Now, the strategic portfolio management that factors in strategic alignment, as well as potentially other portfolios of assets and things like applications and products and things you might be dependent on, OnePlan can provide that uniquely, and we can connect to the Microsoft tools through that. But these are some of the tiers. Now, there's different gradations of this, but this is probably the higher level groupings that we would consider. So with that, I'd like to start a demonstration, and let me go grab this from over here. And right now I'm in a browser version of Teams right now. And if you notice, I have got Planner activated over here in the left rail or the left navigation. And I'm in a My Plans area that basically will give me the ability to look at in My Plans, essentially like you would see in the recent things in my rest of Microsoft 365, a list of all the plans that I have access to, right? And this could be a combination of Planner Premium plans, formerly Project for the Web plans, Microsoft Planner Basic plans, and you could actually start looking at these in different ways, things that were shared with me, my own personal plans, things I've pinned, etc. But the idea is you get easy access to the things that you have access to from a singular place. Now, that being said, creating new plans can be templated. You can build them from scratch like you always have, but there's the availability of templates. And notice up at the top now, it says basic or premium plans. So with this, a basic plan would be a plan that you could do using the core original Microsoft Planner capabilities that you have. So anything you could have done in Planner, you can do with a basic plan template. Premium would be something that you can that you would use the former Project for the Web capabilities, which extended beyond Planner Basic, which we talked about in the past. Now we have access to all the different templates, but if I look at a view of all the templates, notice that it says in each of those, hey, this simple plan is a basic plan. If I go to the software development, there's a basic version and there's a premium version. But if I go look at things like a sprint retrospective plan, that's only available in the premium plans with the Project for the Web Planner Premium type of capability. So the idea there is that you have some selection, and it is a matter of, what you are licensed for, whether or not you get the using Planner that comes with Microsoft 365 by default, or you've gotten the Planner Plan 1 capabilities for the premium capabilities. Now, with that, if I was going to go into a specific plan, I'll go into this software development plan. As you can see, it gives you these lightweight capabilities, the basics right here in the browser or in Teams. So you could access this directly from a browser. It doesn't have to be right from within Teams. But the idea here is that you got a basic plan with things like starts and finishes and dependencies, etc. And you can look at it in a simple grid mode like this, which is kind of like working with it in a spreadsheet. You can work with it in a board view, and you can have different views in here, like say by sprints, or maybe I could look at it by progress in a variety of ways like you would in Planner. Now, in the Planner Premium plans, you can actually look at timeline views here with the traditional Gantt chart types of views and building of dependencies. There's some charting in here, much like you were used to seeing in Planner Basic. And then you can look at different views in here, like, what tasks are assigned to who in this plan. And once again, this is in the singular plan that we're looking at. And you can also look at, say, assignments and say in detail, what is different people, what tasks are different people assigned to in this plan and for how many hours, etc. And once again, that's a Planner Premium capability with the effort hours. And the cool thing is you can also establish some goals. And a cool part in this here is that you could either build these from scratch, or I'll just use an example of how you might leverage Copilot in your premium plans. And for example, if I have goals for this software development project, I could even ask it a question. I could say, create goals for this project. And in a simple case, it will think on that, it will assess, and then it will give me a list of goals that it thinks might apply to here. And finalize and deploy, achieve 90% unit test coverage, etc. And I can either accept that, or I can undo it and maybe build something from scratch and get some ideas there. But the idea there, it's a capability of one area where you could use Copilot. Now, if I go back here and I go look at my portfolios, what you'll see here as I open a portfolio is a simple view that I can have some fields of data, high level. It's not like probably what many of you have configured in the Project Center within Project Online, but once again, it may give us some basic information and data within here in this portfolio, right? And you could also come in here and look at these things from a roadmap perspective as well, graphically, if you cared to. In addition to that, for you individually, if you're assigned to things across a bunch of multiple plans, I could look at my tasks in a grid, much like a spreadsheet, or I could look at it in a Kanban board. And once again, it'll give me the ability to stay on top of the things I've been assigned. And if you have anything, for example, like you have on a particular day, it would show up in your My Day task, right? The things that I have that come up today that I should be working on. I don't happen just to have anything in here right now. So once again, very simple capabilities, but very accessible and very easy to get started. Now the accelerator. That's something that allows this Power Apps wrapper to happen around that. And if you notice over in the Power Apps wrapper, I now have not only a portfolio of projects, but I've got other portfolio level data that I can add fields as to whatever degree I really care to get that. So here I've got some KPI fields on overall health and all that other stuff, start dates, finish dates, budgets, benefits, etc. And also notice that I've got aggregations into program levels, I have a project request area, etc. But here, if I drill into a specific project, right, within that simple portfolio, essentially what I've got is the ability to add portfolio level data. So notice I've got fields in this form that I can capture different metadata and data around the project so I can categorize it, group it, and filter it, summarize it. I might actually have some business case data like in here that from a request or whatever that I might have. I might have issues, risks, etc. that I might have associated with this project that I want to log. And then the tasks, instead of me accessing this from within Teams, this planner, formerly project from the web, will now be rendered within the context and in the wrapper of this Power App. So once again, a little extended capabilities, but what you're not getting in this thing here is you're not getting time phase data like on resource plans or on financials, right? You're not getting a timesheet if you need a timesheet in your organization, et cetera, and a variety of other things. But once again, it is an option for people that want to take it one step beyond where you are with the planner by itself in Teams, right? So that being said, and I would say this, OnePlan can be activated right within Power Apps, but I'm going to go right into the OnePlan interface to demonstrate this. Now, I'm going to start in the portfolio. And one of the nice things about this is that you can have a richer set of options on the way you'd like to render your portfolio. For example, instead of just a more database-oriented looking list in, say, the Power App, now I've got some more colorful KPIs that are in here. I have the ability to establish a plan type hierarchy in here of any way that I like. And here I've got portfolio, program, project, etc. And as I expand this out, what you'll see is portfolios, programs, projects, and notice I've got icons here that are indicating to me all the different tools that are feeding into this. Now notice I got a planner, Microsoft Planner plan here. I've got a Microsoft Project Professional plan feeding into this one. I've got Azure DevOps feeding into this one. And then I've got other ones in here like Smartsheet and Wrike and Monday.com and et cetera. But the key here is this is all delivered via the Microsoft Cloud. And these list views are very flexible. For example, I've got one here that's very KPI oriented, but I could also look at one and say, let me see one that's more financial oriented and maybe look in more financial orientation. Or maybe the primary hierarchy of the plan types that I show by program or project, maybe that's not the way I want to group, filter, and summarize this. Maybe I want to flexibly look at the summarization of this, and I might want to say, let me take all my projects and let me group it by business unit. And then basically look at this and say, all right, now I can see which are the applications business unit, which are in IT, which are in capital planning. Or maybe I categorize these things in different ways. And this could be by any piece of metadata that I have. In this particular case, I'm now looking at what my business transformation, what my compliance projects are, et cetera, and they're all grouped and summarized by that. So these list views are very, very robust, including the ability to snapshot data and look at things in trends. So as you can see, there's different KPIs, and you decide what these are. You can trend that data any way you want. And for the Agile folks, be able to look at your portfolios in board views and be able to look at things in columns and swim lanes. Here I got it look like by the state of the portfolio. But on the other hand, I could look at this stuff and I could say, let me look at status health by goals. And now, not only do I have the columns of the goals as the columns, I now have status health as swim lanes, and I can establish swim lanes on any piece of data or metadata I want, and I can establish columns with any data I want, as well as limits I can set up here on budgets, so I can go up and see, am I overspending budgets in any one given category as I go through that. I also have roadmap views that are flexible to view. And so now, as opposed to building these manually, it's bringing in the data filtered and grouped in swim lanes by the parameters that I give it. So here I'm looking at this grouped by the swim lanes or by business unit. The color of the bars is by the status. Basically, in this case, is whether it's at risk or whether it's on track, etc. But maybe I want to look at this one by, let's say I look at it by that category view again, and I look at the category, and I really want to see how I'm doing on these by financial health. Now all of a sudden the colors on the bars change, and I can view these, and I can flexibly do this and save as many roadmap views as I want to get the perspectives that I need. Now from a Microsoft perspective, we also have dashboards at this portfolio level that allows us to see portfolio summaries and drill in as we see fit, to be able to go to see health summaries. So those KPIs for the non-user that might want to see these in Power BI reports or native OnePlan reports, look at the KPIs around that. And I might even look at things like a schedule summary on how we're doing on all these things, or just an overall financial summary. The key is we have reporting at the portfolio levels, all the way down through the program levels, down through the individual projects, to the task and work item levels. The key there is you get the information that leadership needs or that you need to manage your initiatives. Okay. Now, if I go back to these list views, and I go back to my portfolio and look at the individual projects themselves, and let's say I drill into a particular project, as opposed to having a Power App layered on top of, say, Planner, I could come in here and I can drill into a particular project, and I can have all the aspects of this in a time phase basis as well. So for example, if I look at the details of a page, those of you who use Project Online, you're probably used to having what they call project details pages, where you can have these detail pages configured however you want into sections, whether they be rich text, etc., and be able to go in here and look at these and have snapshots of the data as it currently exists, current status of all the things, and you can make this as complex or as simple as you'd like, including stages or phases or gates that you might need to go through. We also have the ability to do flexible work planning. So if I'm in the work plan here, this work plan, we can have either schedules, agile backlogs, and logs of issues, risks, changes, key decisions. And the cool thing here is you can add ones of your own. You could add, say, lessons learned. You could add assumptions. You could add requirements, whatever it might be, into the mix to do those types of things. And what's nice in here, in this scheduling capability, I can either build that right here in OnePlan, or I can derive this from other tools that we have connectors to. So if you have a Microsoft project plan or a Azure DevOps plan or a Microsoft Planner plan, you can get those connected and that synchronize in here and roll that data up and continue to work in those Microsoft tools as you see fit. So the idea here is that though it all comes in into OnePlan as a hub, you can continue to work in the tools that you prefer. Okay. On the backlog side of things, as you can see here, if I'm looking at more of an agile backlog, in here, I've got requirements and user stories. It's not built like a waterfall plan. And I may come in here and I might show sprints that I've allocated these things to. And I have limits in here. And then here I haven't allocated anything yet, but you can define those sprints as you go through in the time boxes around those. And the key there is that you have flexible ways to do your planning. And you could actually combine them in the schedule. And you could actually bring backlog items and the schedule tasks together into one view so that you can have a robust hybrid schedule. And that includes doing things like issues and risks. So basically having things in here where you might have a risk log. Notice that you can have different work types in here that have their own requirements, such that things that you wouldn't have on a project task like impact, probability, cost impact, and mitigation plans are here for this particular type. So it's all done right here within OnePlan. And the cool part here is that you also get to do resource capacity planning in a quantified, time-phased way, which the prior options that I showed you did not have. So here I can plan in terms of hours, as you're seeing here. I can plan some percentages of effort. I can plan in terms of FTEs. And the idea here is that I can then look at this in any way that I see fit. And the key there is that I can go from generic initial assignments all the way to finding candidates for either overloaded resources or generics, and find the matches in here that I can replace these other resources up above that may have availability. And I have that capability to do this robustly within OnePlan, both from a top-down capacity planning perspective and bottom-up rolling up from the schedules. Time phasing, financials. Some folks really have a need to do more detailed time-phased financials and have cost categories that map over to their cost centers within their financial or ERP system. And our connector platform will connect to those systems such that we can leverage data from those, say, for actuals. But you can define a very detailed cost plan in here, and you can actually see basically budget versus maybe revised forecast on where we're at today versus the actual spent to date. And you can even track on a time phase basis benefits like revenue, cost savings, etc. The key there is you can do those things, and you can do this both in the resource plan and in the financial plan, is that you can compare, say, for example, your budget to your forecast and look at the deltas that we have between those things as we go across. Now, ultimately, as we go back and I look at an individual resource plan like I showed you, that all aggregates up into a full resource capacity demand plan. And here I'm looking at just a list of resources. Maybe I'll look at this by resources by, say, role. All right. So now, as I go through here and I look at this by role and I look at the engineering role, I can see that I have Daniel Williams here, who is severely overloaded. If I change this from hours to an FTE view, I can see that he is actually 4 times booked in 2 months. And I would submit to you that if you had constant visibility like this into this, you would never get to that severe state with Daniel. But I can also see in here that I have an engineer who is generically assigned to 3 projects. I have to still put a name to this. So at this particular point in time, I may want to find a candidate to replace that engineer. And in essence, find that I have a number of people that have bandwidth in here sufficient to cover the requirement here and do a replacement of that generic. I could do the same thing with Daniel's things, and I could say, what's he on and which projects do I want to take him off of? And I could basically select one of those and do the same kind of replacement here at a global level. So once again, good byplay and negotiation between the project manager and what they need and the resource managers who say who I can have to fulfill that requirement. Okay. Now, outside of this, it really boils down to, intake and demand too. What are we going to choose to do? And we have a really robust ideas area for ideas and requests that allows us to put a portal together for anybody in your organization to be able to submit a request and have users who actually have full capabilities in OnePlan to vet those, to assess them and decide whether or not they should be promoted into projects. Notice there's voting here. There's a prioritization. That's a calculated prioritization score based on whatever prioritization scheme and weighting you might have on that. And the key here is that you can then select, and any one of these you could promote at the given time via workflow or through explicitly doing so, promoting this from an idea to a project or an epic or anything else that you might have within the system that you might want to do. So it's an end-to-end, one continuous area. Now, this might be one area where I'm looking to say, what's the best things for us to choose to work on? And let's just say I'm looking at a view like this, and I say, let me ask Sofia for some help here. So much like we did with Copilot, here specifically in the area of ideas in OnePlan, I can say, based on votes, ROI, and priority, what 3 projects should we approve and why? And as it thinks through that, it's going to look at the data that's in here, and it's going to give me an assessment or some suggestions. Obviously, we're using it as a tool, and we're basically going to make our own decisions, but it's giving me the top 3 that we should choose, and then give me the rationale for the approval around that for the analysis that it might want to do. So the key there is it's just one aspect, and you can do this in any portion of the tool, in the project planning, in the portfolio planning, in the ideation area, etc. Anywhere in OnePlan, you can ask it for assistance. Okay. Now, the strategic area, this is where, you might establish, that's the timesheet. In the strategic area, this is where you could set up your objectives and your key results. And as I look at this, I can do this as the executives and your senior people put these things together. I can look at the objectives and key results. I can establish the details around these, and we could look at that in more detail another time. But we can then align our projects with these. So for example, if I went to say reduce server downtime by 50% as a key result of this objective, I can see that there's associated plans in here, both ideas and projects, and associated enterprise architecture elements, which I have products and applications associated here that are related to this. And if I want to visualize that rather than in a tabular way, I can visualize this at any given point in time. I can see the dependencies I have to these key results. And I can also look the overall interrelations that I have in this runway view, where I can see that this key result is contributing to this objective, that these projects and epics are now being executed to support this. Unfortunately, one of them is red. And I might want to look at this at any given point in detail and say why this might be red. And I can look at the details of this and figure out why this situation exists. And I can see that we're off track, mostly because we're overspending and because of the financial health. The schedule seems to be on track, but we may end up overspending on this. And that's why it's considered red and off track at the moment by the assertions of the calculations and or the assertions of the project manager. Also notice that there's products, there's applications, and there's business capabilities that are related to this as well that we must consider to achieve our overall success. Okay, so just a high level view of what this might provide. And then I would say on a home page, every user, regardless of their role, can have insights that draw their attention to things that might require their attention, comments that go on through here that on a task or a project level that people may want to be attended to and look at the conversation threads, and then easy access to the plans that they have access to, and also alerts to what might be due soon for what you're looking at. And then all that one place that you might want to look at for someone to actually update the tasks on the different projects that they're working on. They can update projects and tasks and backlog items right here in one place. They can actually provide percent complete, changes of dates. They can have notes. They can add comments that show up in those comment threads. And so that you can collaborate very nicely with the people that you work on. And if it's not enough that you just update the tasks and that you report time, we have a fully robust timesheet that allows you not only to put timesheet entries in here, but also to comment on them and to actually even comment on each individual time entry that you have, especially if you have to justify the time to a chargeback or a billable type of entity. Lastly, I'll just finish up with the fact that we do what-if analysis. And that what-if analysis allows us to set up models. And we can set up models that allow us to evaluate different scenarios and alternative courses of action. So for example, for my IT 2025 project planning, in this model, I'm contemplating a world of, say, 43 potential active and proposed projects and ideas, right? And in this particular case, I can see, if I look at this from a resource constraint perspective, I can see that there's a lot of red in here that indicates that I might not be able to do this. I can also see that it takes more dollars than I may have at any given point in time to do this particular thing as well. So what I might do in this particular case is do a scenario, and I won't do it all from scratch, but let's just say I evaluated what I could do with a $10 million budget. And in that $10 million budget, I can select and deselect projects. I can interject a Gantt chart such that I can actually take into consideration what I might delay, like a proposed project. I might take that and decide to delay it out a couple quarters in order to achieve the things that I want to do, and ultimately come up with a scenario that gives me 24 projects that are out, 19 that are in, and also factoring into that mix the prioritization scores that you have from a variety of things and the importance of the strategic alignment. Now, a $15 million budget might have something else. But given the time constraints I have today, I can compare these. So I can do a $10 million budget that basically gives me the effort of resources and budget that I need. And I can also see that for $5 million more in investment, I could get maybe another $11 to $12 million in benefit. Is it worth me trying to get the funding to do that because of the return on investment that I can get? Perhaps, right? If I want to look at, other dependencies I might want to factor in, the visualizer capability is used in a different way here. It basically shows me, here's the plans I selected, but here's unselected plans that may have dependencies on what we want. Should I reconsider some of these because of their importance on other plans? Perhaps, right? I might want to look at a bubble chart on here, like we've seen in a lot of portfolio management scenarios. I got prioritization scores on one axis, I got benefits on the other. It looks like everything else is in the upper half of the prioritization scores and a variety of different benefits. And the size of the bubbles is really the cost and the budget of those particular plans. So this is the ones that I've actually selected, but maybe I can also interject in gray the ones I didn't select and see if there's things that fit in here that maybe I should have considered before I actually did this scenario. So once again, a variety of different things that we can look at in this scenario planning, and I can do this as many different scenarios as I want. I can save as many different iterations as I like. All right. So with that, let's talk about summary and next steps. So hopefully I showed you that between Microsoft and OnePlan, we can get you to solutions that meet you where you're at. And you can even aspire to get beyond where you want and advance the organization in a kind of a crawl, walk, run approach. Just because I showed you a lot today, and some of it you may or may not be ready to tackle right now, if you have a vision of wanting to get there, we can get you on the path there and start you where you're at, and maybe stretch you a little bit without breaking you. In summary, OnePlan has been aligned and has enhanced and deployed the Microsoft project offerings for many years. Now, Microsoft has reimagined my project and has combined Project for the Web and Planner into one tool set. And Microsoft Power Platform is the modern platform for solutions. Microsoft is primarily focusing its efforts on the collaborative work management world today, but OnePlan provides a platform that extends the Microsoft Planner and provides full enterprise work management, project portfolio management, and ultimately strategic portfolio management capabilities. The AI assistants of Copilot from Microsoft and Sofia GPT from Microsoft are available today and have real tangible benefits to using them. OnePlan integrates with other solutions and tools as needed, as we indicated that today. And OnePlan is delivered in the Microsoft cloud, so it is part of the overall Microsoft infrastructure. And OnePlan provides solution services and migration support to get you to where you're at from where you're at, so we can help you succeed regardless if you want to do that. Now, Microsoft has been a strategic partner of Microsoft's for many, many years. We've been recognized as their partner of the year or the finalist for 5 different years. And we are recognized by Gartner, Forrester, and other analysts for our thought leadership and the robustness of our solutions. We also have a wide variety of customers across a wide variety of industries, and there's a lot of notable logos here that you'll see. And this is just a small subset of the almost 500 customers we have out there in the marketplace. Now, I mentioned free trials. You can go to oneplan.ai/solutions and actually get a free trial, and we'll give you any complimentary assistance you might like. Our goal is to have you be successful with this trial and hopefully buy the solution. So let us know, reach out. Don't be a lone ranger. You can go out and get yourself a template. I would strongly recommend, if you want a full evaluation, to use our strategic portfolio management template that's out there to get all aspects of that. You could also grab that same template from Microsoft AppSource if you grab things from appsource.com. We also can give you a free roadmap workshop, meaning we can work with you, talk with you, and figure out where you're at today, where you'd like to get to, and give you an idea what it would take to get you there, to get you into one of these solutions. We can do this at no charge and give you an idea what total cost of ownership is. Now, given that we base a lot of this on Microsoft technologies, you may already own a good chunk of what you need to do this, so it might be an incremental investment on your part. But ultimately, let us know if you'd like to have a trial. Let us know, engage with us so that we can give you a great and the best possible experience and steer you in the right direction. The roadmap workshop, happy to do that with you. Now, I gave a very quick high-level demo today. There's a lot of depth here that we didn't go into. If you want a free personalized one-on-one demo to address your specific pain points and your specific use cases, let us know. Reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai, and we're happy to schedule something with you. And if you just want to research more, just go to www.oneplan.ai. So with that, I'd just like to thank you for your time today. I know it's valuable. Hopefully you got value out of the time you spent with us today and got some additional information. At OnePlan, we are a hub that brings a lot of these things together into one common environment, and we call that the power of one. Once again, my name is Jim Patterson. If you want to reach out to us to the generic contact line, or if you want to reach out to me directly, as Robert said, you will get a copy of these slides and you will get a link to the recording of this presentation. Thank you again, and have a great day.